years and years, just up until recently, did not enforce weight restrictions. So all these vehicles, all these age vehicles in the lift service have safely been delivering paratransit service to people with a combined weight of over 600 pounds. This is nothing new. The only new is trying to reverse that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and testifying. A very important topic. I think we can get back to you within 15 days. Okay, we will do that. We will do so.
Thank you.
Kelly, in the interest of time, can you give me a heads up when we're about 5 minutes into a presentation so that I know what kind of time? I want to try to manage the balance of our time if we can. If we have lengthy presentations, we're all going to be running out of time. So we're only on 2 of 11. This one is Cameron Johnson, and he wants to talk about youth and ID. Morning, Cameron.
Morning. For those of you who missed it, my name is Cameron Johnson. I'm with the Opal Bus Bearers Union. I am here with the currently absent Mount Scott Community 13 Volunteer Corps, and I am confessing that I am a teen without an ID. Because TriMet's ID policy has turned me almost into a second-class bus rider. I'm not an adult, I am a teen, and therefore I need I just be accepted on the bus sometimes. Most of the time, the drivers don't ask, but when they do, I am forced to admit I do not have it. Then I get dirty looks, I get threats, and I couldn't get kicked off the bus. So simply put, I feel like a second-class bus rider, and youth deserve better from TriMet. If the purpose for requiring ID is to prevent fare evasion, I don't agree with the logic. First off, why are you only trying to stop youth from evading fares that way? Is this part of an assumption that youth are more likely to evade fares than grown-ups? Where does this assumption come from? Youth are not the sole culprit of fare evasion. In fact, the continuous raising of fares is the culprit. The cost of public transportation is causing more and more instances of fare evasion. Fares are going up, and service is being cut. If this ID policy is any indicator, there appears to be great misunderstanding of who TriMet's riders are and how they are affected by fare increases and service cuts. The board should take a stand on behalf of the transit dependent, including the youth. I'm learning a lot about what equity actually means. I think it would be a good idea for TriMet to take a step back and double check its own definition of equity. The board should place a moratorium, what that means, on any further fare increases and service cuts until TriMet knows who its riders are and can say in good conscience that all of the riders took part of the process. That would be a good step towards equity. And one more note that wasn't on here that I wanted to add was about the school free bus passes. That only covers certain high schools. It doesn't cover private high schools. It doesn't cover middle schools. And it doesn't cover Hope schools. And that maybe that should be reassessed as well. And if you have any questions, just feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Cameron, for testifying. Appreciate it. Ron Swearin on bus route number 7. Good morning. Good morning.
I live on Umatilla Street, which has the number 70 bus going by, and it goes till 12:30 a.m. The neighbors and I have discussed it. We hardly ever see anybody on that section of the route anyway, especially at the late hours. I mean, during the day you see some riders, but later in the evening we notice the buses are usually empty. Once in a while there's a person or two on it. And what I wanted to bring to your attention, our street has become very impacted with noisy traffic. It's 2 blocks south of Tacoma, and it's a very wide street, but it's still a residential street. Unfortunately, I didn't know that TriMet was examining the possibility of route reductions and cuts. I would have got this information in sooner, but I did bring 10 letters from residents of the street, and that's just between 13th and 17th. And basically, we're concerned about the overall noise on the street, which comes from different sources. But try to see what it's like to be a resident on that street. We have the bus going by until 12:30 a.m. and when you're 10 yards or 15 yards away from the diesel engine, it's very noisy. It's not so noisy coming down but then as it goes right in front of you, it's very noisy. We have trucks that use that for a shortcut because it's wide. There's 3 taverns that have traffic till 2 a.m. very frequently. Loud motorcycles, loud exhausts and pickups. Sometimes it even goes to 3 a.m. I don't know why, but it can be at 3 a.m. and that's very frequently. We're across from a school, so there's a lot of parking taken up during events. I mean, it's very hard sometimes for us to even find a parking spot in front of the house. I own a duplex that has some rental in it, so and some of the other residents have multi-family buildings too, so there is some need for off-street parking. Lately, Southeast Umatilla Street has been turned into a bicycle boulevard. It's part of the Springwater corridor, and it will probably remain so for a number of years. There's a lot of bicycle traffic. Saturday mornings, there's a lot of joggers. I mean, we'll have groups of a dozen, maybe up to 20 joggers coming by. It's just very impacted by traffic. So, as far as bus route reductions, I realize nobody's ever going to be completely satisfied with the decisions you make, but those of us that have signed that letter just believe that the number 70 route should be examined for possible reduction, and mostly it's after 10 p.m. Also, I'd point out I have a health issue. I have acid reflux, plus some other complications, so when I don't get a decent night of sleep, which is just about every night, it really gives me some bad symptoms. The last year I've had, most of the days I've had a lot of stomach cramps and pain from that. And so anyway, it's basically due to the noise problem. So it's a number of factors, but I would wish you would consider possibly reducing that route, especially in the late hours.
We referred Mrs. Warren's letter, which we received in advance, I think was provided to the board in advance, so we appreciate that. And we referred that to our service planning for the response.
We will work with you.
Now, is there going to be an ongoing discussion of this around cuts, or was it kind of?
No, that's a process that happened.
Yeah.
There was a number of opportunities for public input. The board took the action, and these changes will occur in September. And I don't think this is among the span changes.
The change that you're requesting would not be amongst the changes that are already programmed, and there are, it would be in future service adjustments that would come up. But again, we'll review the request. We understand your concerns, and we'll look to see if there's anything that we can do without impacting a whole lot of other customers.
Yeah, there was one letter that said that she was surprised that people, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of plea for the service, but people apparently had, some.
We have the numbers, so
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. And he did submit his testimony via email, and those are forwarded to all board members just in case someone else wants to use that vehicle. Chris Walker, talking about restrooms and Max stops. Chris?
You left.
Chris stepped out. Okay. John Charles. Capital investments is the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Charles, President of the Cascade Policy Institute here in Portland. Before I talk about capital investments, I would like to say I appreciate very much the opening comment you made at the beginning of the hearing regarding allowing testimony to be taken relevant to specific agenda items as they arise. It may be in some cases, such as today, that wasn't a relevant factor, but in those cases where it will be a relevant factor, those people who are concerned about that agenda item will really appreciate being able to speak as you consider that item, so I appreciate that change. What I've asked the assistant to pass out is something that's new. It's a June 2010 study from the Mineta Transportation Institute, San Jose State University. This is the executive summary of a 100-page study that, if you're interested, you can find easily on the web. And I just thought that you would appreciate having, for the benefit of the audience behind me, it's entitled From Buses to BRT, Case Studies of Incremental BRT Projects in North America. The BRT stands for Bus Rapid Transit. And the reason I thought it was appropriate to bring to your attention is because at the margin, your next capital project is extremely expensive, now gone from, I believe, $194 million a mile to $199 million a mile for the Milwaukee Light Rail project, while the federal share is apparently going to drop. And for all of these projects, those numbers don't actually have any meaning by themselves. They only have meaning in a comparative context. And elsewhere in the industry, there's been a lot of interest, and a lot of interest by the federal government, in moving incrementally towards bus rapid transit as something that provides many of the same, if not superior, transit benefits at far, far lower cost. And so in this case, I looked at case studies around North America, including Eugene, Oregon. And I've highlighted your copies for a few things. I'll just summarize read one sentence for the benefit of the audience, which is the author's quote, "Bus performance improvement offers quick results at a reasonable public cost. For example, as shown in the case studies, the 26 bus lines of the Los Angeles Metro Rapid Network were implemented far more quickly and for billions of dollars less than the 4 LA rail lines, yet these enhanced buses are serving 78% as many passenger trips as the entire rail system." I think the significance of that statement really needs to be pondered by you as fiduciaries of this system. And on the final page, the Table 1, Performance of 5 BRT Development Experiences, again I've highlighted some key metrics that I think are worth considering: travel time reduction in percentage terms, route miles of coverage, cost per mile, capital cost, and cost per new daily rider. You can see that the very low-cost LA Metro Rapid BRT system on 3 of the 4 metrics was the best, and was the second best for one of the metrics. When you consider that the very expensive LA Metro Orange Line, which is the full-on BRT with its own right-of-way, has a marginal cost of $16,700 per new daily rider, and yet the cost per mile was only $26 million. You're proposing something that's almost $200 million per mile. So I would suggest that you direct your capital staff to put in 2 more columns here. 1, Milwaukee Light Rail Line as currently planned, and 2, Milwaukee BRT version that would simply be a skip-stop express bus up McLaughlin over a new Selwood bridge that accommodates heavy vehicles, which would be built on Multnomah County's dime mostly, not your dime. And then on in Portland. I believe the only way to compare the decisions you have to make about whether to really go forward with this massively expensive light rail project is to say, well, compare with what? Compare with what other cutting-edge capital investments are people making across the country. And these metrics are typical metrics people use. I think with that information, which should be able to be provided by your staff within a few hours, since they've been working on the project for years, that would just really help you do your due diligence about the marginal investment you have to make next at a time when you're cutting service. So I just encourage you to put that on the table as something to investigate in the next 30 to 60 days, and that hopefully would help inform your decision. Thank you.
Thanks. Questions? And I know that frequent service, BRT is something we haven't seen in our region, but the frequent service lines and the performance kind of are illuminative of how good frequent bus service can serve the public. So I agree with you there. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.